You've had such an enduring and successful career. Do you remember the first time you felt like you had succeeded at what you set out to do with your music?
I haven't got to that yet.
You're still working on it. That explains
I'm
why
still
you
waiting
won't
for
retire.
it. Yeah. I audition every day. Try to keep my job.
So there was never a moment where you felt like, my gosh, look at what I've done so far.
No, I haven't thought of it that way, but I have thought of it having a chance to meet people, for example, meeting President Bush while he was in office, then later President Clinton. I also had a chance to meet the Pope, and I played at the White House a few weeks ago. So that makes you have more confidence. You, of course, feel good about these things happening to you or for you. But I don't know. This is not false modesty. It's just that
it's just an ongoing process.
I feel that I'm never any better than my last night's concert.
That's a good way to keep yourself on your toes, huh? Speaking of that, of your concerts, there's so many of your songs are classics that people expect to hear all the time. Do you ever get to the point where the songs are just not as exciting for you to play? I mean,
well, I have to change them up from time to time. Tonight you'll hear quite a few new things that you haven't heard me do. Sometimes we have to make some changes, not only just because of the public, but for my own sake. I need to do some other things.
To keep it interesting for yourself? Are there songs that you just won't perform anymore? That you
No, I don't have any of those.
You love them all.
I still love them all. Each one had their time, you know. Some of them, like The Thrill Is Gone, if I don't play it at night, people scold me, so I have to
That's
stay
the one
with
that
it.
everyone wants to hear.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about your album that you released last year, Blues on the Bayou.
Yes.
That was the first album that you actually produced yourself.
In many, many years.
Or wasn't the first? Was there another one before that?
The early 50s, most of them.
When you first started, wow.
Most of them.
Why did you wait so long in between? Why this particular album did you want to produce yourself?
Well, I had some particular ideas, some things that I wanted to do. And you may have noticed it was sort of like on stage, but straight ahead, straight ahead. I didn't use any electronic devices other than amplifiers and guitars, you know.
It's amazing.
We just went straight through with it.
How long did it take you to record?
About a week.
A week? Just a week?
Just
That's
about
amazing.
A week, yeah.
Including rehearsals and everything? You just got...
About a week.
Wow. That is, and did you use the same, or I think you did, you used the same band that
My
you use your touring band, right?
My band, yes.
That's fantastic. Now, when you release new music, do you look at the reviews? Do you read reviews of your music? Does that...
Not too much.
No? Does it affect you when you do? Is it something that you're conscious of?
Well, who likes to be criticized?
Nobody. I know I don't.
But the critics have a job. They have to perform too, you know. So
right.
If I don't read it, I don't know what they say. No, I read sometimes. Sometimes I think it's good to know that people dislike certain things you do. It makes you more aware of what they like and what they don't like. But I don't let it stop me from doing what I plan to do.
So you set a plan and you go forward, and regardless of...
I try to make sure that in my head it's right. You know, I can't help what that person or this person think about it. But in my head, if this is the right thing to do, I think the right thing to do, I will do it. Because when I was making 3 O'Clock Blues and all those other things that made the name B.B. King be known, they wasn't there.
Right, exactly.
So now I am known pretty well. And some of them are just not going to like what I do. Jesus Christ didn't. Everybody didn't like him.
You're just doing your own plan. Well, that's interesting, though, because how do you choose the songs that you're going to record for your album? Because they're usually traditional, classic songs. I mean, I know you write as well, but...
I try to tell a story. I try to tell a story that usually has to do with man and woman. What else is there?
You mean thematically with a particular album, you try and keep the songs relating to each other?
Well, Somewhat, but a lot of times the melodic line, the chord changes and what have you that goes with a melody, sometimes don't have to have any words at all.
Right.
It still tells a story, at least in my opinion. But I personally think that when you, for example, I did a song once, I think it was only one chorus. Nobody loved me but my mother, and she could be jiving too. Well, I think a lot of people feel that way. I know I have felt like that at times.
Right.
I felt like that nobody seemed to really care about what I did, how I got along, whether I made it or didn't make it. Just seemed like I was there, just by myself. But I know that there are other people that probably have the same feeling, and I'd like to tell them that they're not alone.
And you mean people, and you mean when you were recording and you're making your decisions to make your music, you felt alone, like there wasn't?
No, not necessarily when I was doing the music. I'm talking about at times. There's times in your life.
Right.
Times in your life you feel that, for example, you might lose a close friend or something happens that don't necessarily have to be bad for you, but bad for somebody else. Bad in a lot of cases for people you don't even know. And you still feel, empty in a way of speaking, because you can't do anything to help them. You don't know. You're just there. For example, a month ago or so, I was in Europe and I read about JFK Jr.
Right.
Well, I had a chance to meet him when he was a teenager. His mother brought he and his sister by. We were playing in Manhattan one night, and the ex-first lady at that time, after the president was dead, brought the kids by where we were playing. So I had a chance to see him, meet him. And then reading about he and his wife and sister-in-law was all killed at one time. This hurt.
Yeah.
It would have hurt me if I had not met him. But I had met him.
And that makes it a little more intense.
That makes it, yes.
A little more intense. Wow.
So things of that sort.
When you go in, well, let me just jump to something else. Actually, now you've worked with so many talented musicians. I mean, people like Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, Bonnie Raitt, Dr. John. Are there any musicians out there that you haven't worked with that you want to in the future?
Yeah, it's just easy to ask me, and I can answer it easier to ask me who is it out there that I would not like to work with.
All right, tell me that.
I don't know anybody. I don't know anyone I would not like to work with. Everybody has so much to give, so much to offer, and all of these people are so talented. They didn't get where they are by not being so.
Do you think you'll do another album in the future, like your Deuces album, where you collaborated with?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I don't want people to start liking me only because I can work with other people.
Right. Well, you proved that with Blues on the Bayou. That is an absolute.
But I would love to work again with even some of the people that I did work with before. I'd like to work with them again anytime that they would, because I'm always open.
I'm sure they're lining up around the corner to do that. There was a quote in your autobiography, which I recently picked up, where you said, "I struggle with words, never could express myself the way I wanted. My mind fights my mouth and thoughts get stuck in my throat. Words aren't my friend, music is. Sounds, notes, rhythms. I talk through music." Now, that to me is such a powerful statement about what you do and about the music that you've chosen. Do you remember when you realized that music or the blues had such a powerful effect on you?
I guess it had happened before I realized it. I guess I didn't have any more problems than most people around me, but I lost my mother when I was 9. I was very crazy about her. My grandmother, my mother's mother, the next year. My mom and dad had been divorced since I was 5. My dad didn't know where I was at the time when my mother died, so I lived alone from the time I was about almost 10 till I was about 14. So
You mean absolutely alone, or not with other family members, or?
not with other family
Really?
members. I lived alone.
Wow.
The house my mom, my grandmother, and I lived in, we worked for a family called the Cottage family. And I was sort of like a houseboy for them. So after my mom and my grandmother died, I still worked for them. I had in the area, I had an aunt and an uncle, my mother's brother and sister, but I didn't want to live with them. I liked my place better.
Right.
Because, you know, in the area where I grew up, it wasn't like it is today. Anybody could tan you up if you got out of line,
Right,
you know.
right.
So you had to still be in line, but it wasn't like the laws are today. I could stay in my house if I wanted to. Nobody made me leave, and I wanted to stay there.
Why did you? You said till you were about 14. You
Yes,
did that.
that's
what,
when
what happened there?
My father found out where I was.
Oh, really?
He came for me.
He came back.
And it was, well, I don't came back. He and my mother had divorced when I was 5. He had married again, had another family. But he found out where I was after my mom had died.
Right.
And he came for me, so it was no, you know, you can come if you want.
He told you you're coming.
Oh, yes, in no uncertain way.
And you obviously didn't want to go.
No, I did. I
Oh, you
wanted to
did?
go with him, yeah.
You didn't?
Yes, I wanted to go with him.
Did that end up, did you repair your relationship with him at that point? Or was
I
it, was it different?
I didn't have a strange relationship. That
Oh,
was
you
he and my mother, not me.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured since he had left, that might have affected you
No,
in an adverse way. You just kept the two relationships separate, the one that he had with your
Well,
mother
I
and the one
loved
that he
them
had with
both.
you.
I
Yeah.
loved them both. By them not being able to get along didn't have nothing to do with me.
Right, of course.
My dad never mistreated me. He was there for me all the time.
Did you stay with him after that
Stayed
time?
with him until I got ready to get married and go in the Army.
How old were you then?
17.
Still a kid. Still a kid.
Well, that's most of the guys that go in service, usually
Yeah.
18.
Start young.
Yeah.
What do you think is the happiest moment of your career so far?
It's kind of hard to say.
I'm sure there are many.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's hard to say. I guess, oh boy. Well, getting the first Grammy, that was a happy, happy moment in my life.
What year was that?
I don't know.
That must have been something though.
I think it was in the 70s.
In the 70s.
My first one was For the Thrill Is Gone, so we recorded. The Thrill Is Gone. I think the latter part of '69 was out in '70, I believe. So we got a Grammy for it. But meeting President Bush, I guess that was great too for me. That was a great moment. He was in office while he was in office.
Right. But had you met other presidents before then?
No.
Just that was the first
That was
time.
the first president I met in office.
In office.
Then later President Ford, which he and I was honored at Yale together. We both had an honorary doctorate degree on the same podium. That was
Right.
a little odd for me, being on the podium with the president, you know. Later on, I met President Clinton and the First Lady, and finally the Pope. So I don't know, maybe the highlight is hard to say, but between the President
One of
and the
those.
Pope.
Those are pretty big. Those are pretty big highlights.
And then since that, I had a chance to do a concert with the great opera singer Pavarotti.
Oh wow.
Now,
Remember that,
I'll
actually.
tell you, that's kind of hard. So it's hard for me to tell you which one of those.
Well,
was
you've been
the
doing this for
highlight.
so long. Of course, they've got to pile up. Of course.
Well, I have to tell you that it was a thrill for me. Playing The Thrill Is Gone and having Pavarotti sing around it, and you know, he sang it in Italian, but in opera, you know.
That must have been amazing.
Oh man, yeah. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
for me to
We
say,
could sit here for an hour recounting your
Yeah.
entire career. On a similar note, what do you think the saddest thing of your career has been?
I usually try not to ever think of the sad things. Be hard for me to tell you, because I've had, I guess, saddest things would be like losing a member of the band, somebody die or something like that, and I've had that to happen several times. And
So that,
I try not to even ever think about it.
well,
The sad
I'm
times.
sorry I brought it up. I
No,
feel
it's
terrible.
okay. It's all right. You have to take the bitter with the sweet. you know.
Exactly. It makes the, I guess
So
it
I
makes the sweet
just
better.
personally try not to think in terms of sad things that happen.
That's good.
People say I'm
That's
a
good.
blues singer and I'm singing happy.
I like it that way. I think a lot of people like it that way. And speaking of that, what do you think makes a great blues man? What does it take?
I know people that are great singing and playing blues that was never on a plantation, never picked cotton or plowed and all the things that many of the blues singers and musicians did. So I can't say it's that, but I can say it helps. It does help if you were there. But I really don't know. I'm sorry that I can't answer some of your questions.
No, that's fine.
I don't
think you're
really
answering
know.
them all.
I just know when I hear a good one, I know it's a good one.
Who's out there now that you're impressed with? Who are the younger?
It's nobody that I'm not impressed with, but there are some, especially guitar players like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Johnny Lang, Little Jimmy King, Robert Cray. Oh, I could go on and name. Yeah, there are so many that are great.
Do you have any plans to go into the studio again and record?
Yes, I do.
Anytime soon?
Yes.
You know when?
No, I don't know exactly
A lot of
when,
people I
but
know that
yes.
are always waiting for the next new set of recordings. So
Well, I tell you what, I just did something. This is going to probably be a little strange, but I did a tribute to one of my favorites, I should say. His name was Louis Jordan.
yes, great.
Louis Jordan, a lot of the young people won't know about him, but if they could hear some of the things that he did do, they would be able then, I think, to kind of put what he did and what's being done today together.
Right.
And they would see that he contributed, if you will, left a big mark on the music of today. So I did tribute to him.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well,
So
I'm
that
sure-
should be released sometime later this year.
Excellent. I'm sure everybody's going to be
99.
very excited about that.
I
Just
hope
to
so.
say- well, to hear you play music that has inspired you, the way
Yeah.
that your music inspires so many other
I
musicians.
personally believe that's the best work I ever done.
Really? Well, now we're really waiting. Now we're going to lose sleep.
Because it had me doing things, trying to be B.B. King, but do somebody else's material.
Right. Well, that's very exciting.
And I think that it was the best I ever done.